Right in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, there's been this battle raging for decades. It's a fight that pits the relentless march of progress against a community's unbreakable bond with their land. Today, we're going to unpack the really complex, really emotional crisis at Kampung Sungai Baru.
One of the sources we looked at used this phrase, and it just hits you, right? Of bulldozers and bloodied heads. It just perfectly captures the raw human cost of a conflict where state power goes head to head with citizen rights. Okay, let's get into this. So, this is the big question we're trying to answer here. And to do that, we've got to peel back all the layers: the history, the law, the raw human emotion that all led to one chaotic day in the capital. Okay, so let's start with the flashpoint. The one single event that grabbed the entire nation's attention and turned what was a local fight into a symbol for something way, way bigger.
I mean, just try to imagine the scene. It's a quiet morning, and suddenly it's shattered by hundreds of officers showing up. And this wasn't just a simple eviction. It was described as this big, theatrical performance of state power, a real show of force that was meant to crush the resistance once and for all.
And the fallout? Well, it was immediate and it was messy. You had arrests, including a kid who was just 15. A high-ranking police chief gets injured. And of course, pictures of the chaos just exploded online. Instantly, the whole country was split. Was this just the government enforcing the law for the greater good? Or was this a violent crackdown on ordinary people just trying to save their homes?
Now, the authorities, they were adamant that everything they did was by the book, completely legal. So to understand where they're coming from, we have to look at this one really powerful law that's at the very core of this whole thing.
So here it is, the Land Acquisition Act of 1960. This thing is a seriously powerful tool. It lets the state literally take private land for things like roads or schools or for economic development. Now, there are two key conditions. It has to be for a public purpose, and the landowners have to get adequate compensation. But that little word adequate, well, that's where this whole story really starts to unravel.
And this is where the official story starts to clash big time with what people on the ground were saying. The act was used for a private development, which kind of stretches the definition of public purpose, right? The compensation they offered? Less than half of what the land next door was worth. And get this, even though residents filed 75 legal objections, the eviction went ahead with riot police before the courts had even sorted those out. So you have to ask, was this process really lawful, or was it a case of the law being used for the wrong reasons?
And this quote from the residents' lawyer, N. Surendran, it just cuts right to the heart of the matter. His point is, the second the government used its special power to take that land, it couldn't just step back and say, oh, this is a private dispute. No, they were in it. They were responsible.
All right, to really get why the residents were so dug in, why they felt so fiercely about this place, we've got to hit the rewind button. Because this isn't just any old piece of real estate. It has this really unique, protected history that explains everything. So get this, way back in 1932, this place was set up as a Malay agricultural settlement. It was a special status meant to protect Malay land ownership and a traditional way of life. For decades, it was literally a village in the middle of a city. But by 2016, its location was just too good to ignore. Development talks started, but they fell apart, and that's when the government stepped in. In 2021, they officially took the land, which basically set the timer for that massive confrontation in 2025.
One of our sources called the community a legal time capsule, which is just the perfect way to put it, isn't it? It perfectly captures this clash between two different worlds, a colonial-era idea of preservation running straight into the massive, hungry appetite of a modern megacity.
So at the end of the day, you might think this is all about the money, right? But the whole fight over compensation, it shows this huge gap in how people even think about the meaning of value.
Okay, I want you to burn this number into your brain. 1,000 ringgit per square foot. That's what the land right next door was worth, right there in the shadow of Kuala Lumpur's shiny skyscrapers.
And this is what the government offered. 400, less than half. This one single, stark difference is what fueled years of anger, mistrust, and court battles.
So what you have here are two completely different realities. On one side, you've got the government story of progress. They're making future millionaires. This is a catalyst for growth, and anyone who resists is just the tyranny of the minority.
But on the other side, you have the residents. For them, it was never about the money. It was about home. It was about their history. It was about heritage as a form of resistance.
And listen to this quote from a community leader, Zainab Alias. It says everything. "Why must I move somewhere else? This is my home. I don't care how much money the developer gives." For so many of them, no check could ever replace the memories and the community that was tied to that land. It was priceless. Simple as that. Okay, so when things get this heated and this personal, everyone starts pointing fingers, right? The blame game is inevitable. But what the analysis suggests is that this wasn't just one person's fault or one group's fault. It was a total system failure with plenty of blame to go around. So let's break down who's on the hook here. You've got the government, accused of using its massive power for what was basically a private deal. You got the developer, getting called out for not being transparent. The police are seen as making things way worse by sending in riot squads for a civil issue. And then, to make it all even messier, there were reports of paid outsiders showing up, which just muddied the waters of the real residents' protest. This is brilliant. The analysis calls it a Schrodinger's development. Think about it. The project was a public one when the government needed an excuse to use the Land Acquisition Act. But the second they had to deal with the messy negotiations, suddenly it was a private project. It was whatever was convenient for them at the time. A contradiction that critics called totally dishonest. And what critics are saying is that this isn't just a one-time thing. No, it's a playbook, a repeatable pattern they call consultation theater. It's a process that, on the surface, looks like it's all about dialogue. But really, it's designed to use legal force to get a pre-decided outcome, and then let the authorities wash their hands of it all. It's a system that puts procedure way ahead of people. And that leaves us right here with the huge question that's sitting under all the legal jargon and the dollar signs. When you're facing down state-sanctioned progress and unstoppable market forces, do you, as a citizen, have a basic right to just stay, to remain in the community you call home? The answer to that is going to shape the future of all our cities.